Right. Welcome back. Switching it up. I got the microphone and not even in the truck. So I don't think I can call this truck talk. Um, but the AI nowadays, huh? The AI backgrounds. Doesn't this look real? It's unbelievable. Look at that. It even moves in real time. You can't even tell. You can't even tell I'm outside. All right. So my big expensive set now. I've got this. I'm going to be using this in this video, but expect it to change. It's a green screen. I can change it. I can make it look however I want. Um, So yeah, expect that. All right, today I have some more ranting and rambling to do. You know how this is gonna go. Again, I want to remind you guys that I'm looking for emails. I'm looking for comments. I'm looking for any kind of direct messaging to read so that I can respond here. If you guys have stories, if you have questions, whatever it might be, I'm looking for a way to integrate you guys and the community at large into this podcast thingy, whatever it is. Um, I have a couple. I have had a few questions, a few emails, but I don't want to read them and just like have it as like a smaller part. This isn't going to be one of the longer form episodes like those will be. I want them to be like kind of a compilation where I can go through some stories, go through some questions, and put together a nice longer form episode for you guys. But today's not that. Today's just some ranting and rambling. And this is a topic that you should really expect to hear from me probably all the time. I'll just modify it a little bit and change it and mix it up. But pretty much this is kind of the theme. This is like the crux of this whole concept. And it's why I'm fired up and excited to share it with you guys today. Okay. So, in the world's history, this concept of yoga, things like meditation, sacred science, spiritual practices, whatever you might want to call whatever delineation you've seen becoming more popularized, um, they've been around and they've been taught by very specific people. Uh, it was kind of like an attainment to even be called the teacher of those things. And nowadays we have that one word yoga, and anything else can be stapled on the front of it. Goat yoga, beer yoga, bar stool yoga. Friggin' they do paddleboard yoga on like in like a pool where they make the waves. I don't even, okay, listen. Try to not get too fired up, but anything just pasted in front of yoga doesn't make it yoga. And whether or not the science is involved is completely up to that person that's teaching. it's it's the beauty of the practice of yoga is that it can take on so many different forms. That's why there are historically so many different sacred sciences and meditative practices and ways that these texts talk about this self-realization science wherever in the world it might be. They're not looking for a way to add things. In fact, they're looking for a way to kind of minimalize the teachings and put them very logical and succinct and very terse so that they're digestible and they're approachable by people. If we think that that word yoga then has all these other things attached to it, then what is yoga actually meaning to us? Because I hear it mean so many different things nowadays. I have to be told that it can mean whatever someone might want it to mean. And I've seen it compared to so many things that have nothing to do with any meditation or spiritual science or anything like that, or philosophy. So when I see goat yoga, and I know that if you had a bunch of goats around and you were at a satsang at a farm, you're doing yoga. That's a yogic practice. But the goats aren't. They're just walking around. They're not jumping on you where you're doing asana. So this is bringing me to my next point. This is kind of the point for today. If you want to study and teach yogasana and have that be your main way that you see yoga, that's it. For you, it's postures and that's it. Fine. It's enough. There's enough there. I get that. We could put a whole lifetime, dedicate an entire lifetime to that one limb, asana, the third limb of yoga, asana. Within Ashtanga, those 8 limbs, asana is the third, and it's to be still. It's to be comfortable and still. Sthiram sukham asanam. Okay? So if you're moving constantly and that's your perception of the practice, then go to the historical references of that kind of sequencing, find out why those postures are at least named the, okay, stop. Know the names of the postures. Know the names of the poses. They're not in English. They're not in English. So know that at very least. Your pronunciation has to be spectacular too. You have to sound like a native. No, if your pronunciation is a little bit off, that's okay. Maybe you do your best to translate it in the truest way possible, but you don't say it in Sanskrit. Or even if you mumble it to yourself and then you say the English translation out loud, at least know it. At least know it. If you're an asana based teacher, if you're a meditative based teacher, then know that science. Know where it comes from historically. If you're teaching it as yoga, if you're just teaching meditation, there is modern, ways that we can reference it, ways that we can talk about the mind and the chemical, composition of the mind and the different synapses firing and how this is science in meditation. If that's your thing, meditation, study that. No one's going to stop you and say you don't know all of yoga, you're not a yoga teacher. That was never the thing. That was actually a component of the teachings, is that there's 7 rishis. Originally, there were 7 teachers because not all of them could contain or directly explain all of the practice. They had it delineated to them, 1/7 for each of them, so that they could then teach that they knew and that they really understood, and they could teach it as well as they could. So when we think about like the multiplicity of practices, fine. There's the yamas and niyamas. Some people might teach those things. Some people might teach pratyahara, sensory withdrawal, and the truest and deepest understanding of it is not just sensory withdrawal. I think you guys know that Sanskrit is not being translated one word to one word. So when we see that, we kind of have to immediately ask a question. We got to scratch our heads. We got to wonder what the true definition of the term means. So I just say sensory withdrawal, but there's more to this. And within Purna Yogashala, that's always something that I try to offer. And I know that in true shalas all over the world, that's what they offer, is when you get to a question, you get to a word that might be a little bit more technical, that might be a little bit more philosophical or scientific, and it is part of the yogic fabric, then you're going to want an answer from someone that you trust, from someone that you know has studied their stuff. Full circle, bringing it back. We don't know I didn't know anything after my 200 hour. 200 hours is like showing us the door. It's not us walking through the door as a teacher. It's not us turning the knob as a teacher. It's just, hey, there's the door. This is what you have to do if you want to even consider yourself a practitioner, a seeker, let alone a teacher of this. So if it's asana, know your anatomy, study anatomy, help your students anatomically, read them physically so that you can say, oh, it's time for you to move to that next posture. I can tell. You might not be mentally think you're ready for it, but I know when your body, when your mobility, when your strength, when your balance, when these things correlate to create the opportunity for a practitioner to further their physical practice, where we shouldn't be the hindrance. The teacher not knowing when and how to instruct that should not be the student's hindrance, right? They shouldn't go home and Google things. I'll never forget one of my teachers, my truest asana teacher, when it came time for me to start advancing my practice into floating inversions and floating handstands and literally like moving from a straddle split up off the ground, just sitting still on my hands, I had no way of knowing how to approach this. I'm going home, I'm looking up things, I'm trying to do my own research, trying to do my own practice, and I'm finding that I have this kind of a blockage, like I'm not going to be able to do it because there's something I'm missing. Well, one day at the Shala, I'm practicing in front of Yogacharya in Anuttara, and he's watching me try to do my straddle splits. He walks over, and it's not something, I don't know if I had ever seen him do a handstand. I don't know if he can today, but he probably could if he practiced towards it, right? Of course. But I believe he had a certain injury that kept him from even attempting those postures. And he walked over to me and immediately this, do that, roll your hips over, keep this happening. And that was it. From that day on, I understood how to do that inversion. And he was the one to teach it to me. He was he was a genius, really, in the ways of the other 8 limbs. But to know that asana, him not doing the pose didn't mean he didn't know how to or when someone should be approaching that posture. It's so, so important. It shows the student that you're prepared to help them excel and advance because they've been putting in the work to do so. We don't want students and practitioners to just, they just show up every day and the practice looks the same and it never advances. It never finds that next step, and it just stays at like some plateaued level. We don't want that. They don't want that. You wouldn't want. All right, if I'm talking to teachers right now, you didn't want that as a practitioner, as a student when you first started. You wanted someone to help you, to show you that next thing that you might be capable of, because you know that you don't know what you don't know. Huh? If I'm talking to students, if I'm talking to practitioners, if I'm talking to other seekers, you're like, yeah, this is exactly right. I don't want to just be going through every single day. Wow, great flow, great sweat. If it's someone like my practice, you get at least maybe a 10-minute shavasana, but some of them it's 4 minutes. I hear 2-minute shavasanas. The music turns off and they tell you to get up and leave. Have a great day. Thanks. Great. Thanks. Good flow. No, they're always yearning. They're looking for something more. It's why I've always been drawn to those kinds of communities. And I think that yogis, seekers, like true practitioners, they find these communities where other people are okay with just kind of settling up after a practice, sitting down, maybe opening up a couple books, starting a higher minded conversation, starting to contemplate things together, and kind of, turn over the leaves of the mind, and kind of seek and search and question and love and feel that feeling of like communal love. Like we all have one goal. There is no ego. It's the beauty of this practice that there is no ego. Next point. Here we go. Why is it something that we're constantly comparing? Why is it something like my class is your class, is my playlist someone else's playlist? What they know and I don't know, but I don't want to know that. I just want to stay in my bubble. No, we should all be able to discuss things and have a discussion about the practice. When we get together for satsang, let's say, and there's a teacher at the front of the room and they're teaching a story or a mantra or some kind of technical components of meditation, we all get to enjoy the teacher guiding. But then when that teacher's done, everyone turns to each other and it becomes discussion. We know that there was one person that could join the conversation and clarify things, but it's part of the practice. It's part of the journey, is to scratch the itch of knowledge, is to kind of pick our way through things on our own. And then, when there's the big collective questions, we seek the answers from the ancient texts, from the ancient teachers. We can all be seeking those things together. We don't have to have opinion over who's the person that's dictating it, who's the person. These things come from books. It wouldn't matter who the face of the person is. I hope that's making sense. Like, I feel crazy sometimes, guys, that I even have to like kind of say this, but I know there's a lot of people that feel the same way as me. If you put a veil in front of the teacher, the teachings are the same. The teachings are the same. If you put the voice, now we have like auto tune and AI, right? The AI voice. This isn't even my real voice. Now you don't know, because I could be putting through a voice changer. But that's my point. Is I could be standing behind a veil. Any other teacher could be standing behind a veil, speaking into a voice changer, and the teachings are the same. So why would it matter where we learn it from? Or better yet, the discussion would be amazing. It would be beautiful. And for those people that could discuss those things, I can almost guarantee you they're also seeking to really quiet their ego and not feel any kind of comparison or competition when discussing these things. The veils could be lifted, the voice changes could be removed, and they would still have a beautiful discussion. It's knowledge. It's just, we don't do that with something else. We don't cover our ears and no, 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 I don't like that part of math. I'm not going to learn that. What? Huh? I want to be a math professor. I want to be a math teacher, but I don't want to learn calculus. I don't like that part of it. The word, I don't like it. And sine and cosine, you start talking about those things. Tangent, cotangent, it makes me uncomfortable, and I don't want to learn that. Just imagine if this is the world we live in, right? Doctors. I want to be a doctor, but I want to change everything about being a doctor so that I can be a doctor comfortably and treat people the way I want to treat them. But in yoga, it's fine. And you get guys like Iyengar saying that this pained him, that this sickened him, pained him. It hurt him. He felt a visceral connection to the practice like many of us do. And it's a practice that can't defend itself. It doesn't have its own voice. It needs people that are willing to raise their voice for it. You'll see people that feel like it's being appropriated from their culture saying it. If I had a certain accent and was from a certain part of the world, then my opinion, my perspective matters so much more. How I am able to speak much more forcefully and disappointedly in the way that the practice is going. No, I don't put my voice through a changer. I'll wear a bindi if you want. No, I would talk like this. I can talk like this. If I do it, you can say, okay, he is very upset. We need to stop doing the cultural appropriation. It's a joke, by the way. I can do a lot of accents, and I'm going to be doing them here. But that's the voice of the people that you hear complaining about the thing that, not complaining, trying to educate people. The thing I'm trying to share that mission with. How do we not accept the voice of those people? How do we just quiet them, sweep it under the rug? It's because there's billions of dollars being made. Billions. It's because there's the opportunity to set up a studio and then not teach and just hire a bunch of kids that have, the bare minimum of teaching credentials, and that person can just collect from all the students passing through the studio. See, I don't use the word school. I don't use the word shala. It's just a studio, like a dance studio, like Pilates studio. That's what they're becoming. And when you see that that is what it's up against. It's up against billion-dollar industry. And you get people trying to raise their voice up about that. No, I like my, X, Y, or Z brand pants. I just bought them for $100. And I have a mat that goes for every day of the week because I don't want to look in, have a different mat. And the stories that I'm going to be telling on this podcast or thing, the perspective that I get to share with you here is some pretty wild stuff. Some pretty wild stuff that I've seen, guys. And I'm not going to expose like an expose. I'm behind the dark side of no, but there is some validity to the teachers raising up a little bit, raising their voices just a little bit, just enough to be heard, because there's a lot of the other stuff going on right now. And that's what's loudest. That's what's loudest. It's a practice, like I said, that doesn't have a voice, but the ones that are practicing it, we stay quiet because that's part of the practice. So just stay quiet and observe. But eventually, and this is also in the scripts, enough is enough. Eventually, enough is enough. I hear enough of the people that I talk to say the things that I'm saying, and I don't, again, unless it's an Indian person of Indian descent, or they've been practicing yoga for a very, very, very long time, they don't have this perspective. And they don't feel, it's worthy of sharing or reaching out and getting other people involved, because it is so against the grain. And people might not like me for this stuff. I'm okay with that. I really am okay with that. There is enough of the other stuff. You want to go do gymnastics and call it gymnastics, fine. You want to call it stretching, awesome. Stretching, sculpting, awesome. But when it starts to become something yoga, it needs to be defended and explained that that's not what it is, and we can do that. The people that study it, the people that teach it, the people that are seeking it, they can explain why it's not what it's being sold and shared as right now. What it is a loving practice, a practice of unity, of oneness, of self-realization, self-sourced calm and peace and serenity. It's a practice of divine contemplation and cosmic understanding. It's a beautiful practice of storytelling and song singing, and the depths of the fabric of this practice go on for thousands of years in some of the most beautiful stories and some of the most beautiful depictions from things that our mind just can barely wrap itself around, and things that it also can't even begin to contemplate. The practice saved my life. I might say it in every single podcast. The practice thing, whatever this is, the practice is why I am breathing. So if you wonder why he gets so fired up about this, is because I want to make sure that if people out there know there's something that could save them, there's something that could heal them, something real, something tangible, something practical, not something ethereal, not something head in the clouds, something rooted to the ground, real, and it could help. If there's people out there that don't know it could help, but it could, I'll raise my voice. I'll raise my voice in hopes that they're within ear reach, or they check out the thing, whatever this is, this thing. So yeah, there you go. That's it. Just wanted to jump on, keep the ball rolling. Don't forget, send an email, Purna Yoga Shala, Purna Yoga Shala, SHALA @gmail.com, or you can send me, the Concrete Yogi, direct messages on Instagram, or Purna Yoga Shala direct messages on Instagram. And one more thing, you can do the comments here. You can leave a comment, and I will be reading the comments here and from anything posted on Instagram in future videos. What else? Oh, and I think there's like a super chat thing. I'll include that in the future. Like, that'd be a cool way to kind of guarantee your thing gets read. I don't know. I'm new to all this. I'm super new to all this, and I'm super ignorant to all of it. But I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to practice and see where this goes, because it's fun. And look at this. I just invested all this money in this big green screen projector thing. It's a whole setup. I'm in like a Hollywood set. So, I got to try to make it back with the YouTube stuff. Look at this. You have sound effects. And look. Huh? Look at that. Seems real. It almost seems like I'm really in the woods. Have a great day, guys.